these are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
Welcome back, of course, just in time for Bruk It Down, Miss Jenny. Good morning and welcome back, Jenny. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Belize.
Now, Jenny, we're going to jump into our first question because it's a continuation of the last conversation.
The last conversation was a hot one, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Now, very often, people tune in and it's a lot of good food for thought. And that's one of the things that I want to center around. Obviously, the questions, you don't know all the circumstances around it.
Right.
So what you share is your...
It's literally my opinion because I'm just getting a snapshot. I don't know what the other party is going through or what the situation has been. And this is why counseling is a good thing to go do. I give an opinion, and a lot of times if I hear something here, I recommend that the person listening go in and see a professional. And I guess I just need to reiterate, counseling is not for mentally ill persons. Counseling is for ordinary people who have something that kind of overwhelms them. And you go in and the therapist helps you to clarify what's going on in your head and help you to become more focused and grounded. That's what it does. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's jump into our first question.
Okay, surely.
And it says, I listened to your answer last time you were on, and my take on the matter is once a cheater, always a cheater. I'll forgive, but I won't forget. Yes, I demand the password. I look for lipstick marks and perfume smells. I monitor his time when he's away from home. And yes, I call and check up on him. He did it once. What will stop him from doing it again? Why does he need to be on Viber and Facebook anyway? He can talk to me. I am right here. I think you missed the boat on this one, Jenny. Last show.
Take that. Oh my goodness. William, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, because she starts off with a very strong statement. Once a cheater, always a cheater. So can you stay in a relationship if you think along those lines? That
why bother? If you already have decided that once a cheater, always a cheater, the trust is gone. It doesn't sound like you're willing to ever give this person trust. You understand me? So why bother? Now you're going to put him in prison. And what do animals do when you lock them up? If you tie up a dog, when you let that dog go, what does it do?
Go crazy.
It runs, it runs around, it goes absolutely wild. You can't do that to an adult. You can't do that to children. You do it to children and they will do the same thing. An adult, if you believe that this person once a cheater, always a cheater, then get out of the relationship. Get out. You are messing up his life and your life, or her life and your life. Sounds like a girl, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a girl.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about infidelity, can people get past infidelity, and what does it require? Does it require more monitoring?
No.
So what does it require? Because your gut instinct is to turn like a hawk on that person because you don't want to suffer the hurt again. So you enact all these rules and regulations that you think will protect you from all of it.
Operative word there is you think.
And
you think will protect you. It doesn't. William, if And I know wives who have done this. You know, they'll say, he cheated, but I'm going to let him come back home, but I'm not going to forgive him for doing this, right? And then they nag the man every time, every opportunity, or everything that he doesn't come home. He's home 5 minutes late, and she jumps all over him for being 5 minutes late. Where were you? Let me see your phone. It's like living at Colby, or worse, because you're at home. Every relationship is built on trust. It has to be built on trust. If somebody violates the trust, you need to sit down. Actually, that's one of the occasions when you need counseling. You need to go in and sit together. If you both have decided you love each other enough, you want to work through this. You have to talk about why this person stepped out. A man or a woman doesn't go out and cheat. Nobody runs away from love, William. Nobody runs away from love. And so if somebody steps out, something has gone wrong in that relationship. Something has gone wrong. You need to go and sit with someone and talk honestly and openly about what has happened. Okay? We think that men cheat because they see pretty women and they have the opportunity and they take the opportunity. But if he is happy at home, that he's not even going to see anybody else out there. She's not going to see anybody else out there. Do you agree? You're looking at me like in a daze.
No, because, you know, people have very strong opinions about cheating, etc. And very often people look at it. You said something just now and it triggered something in my mind's eye. The whole idea that people feel as if though if someone cheats, not only is something misaligned with the relationship, it also speaks to the fact that I am not enough. I think for a lot of people that's where the difficulty comes in. Because if someone is cheating and I have done everything that I can possibly do, or I think I have done everything that I can possibly do, and it's all physical, it's because they were attracted to somebody else, etc. You know, you have people, especially I think sometimes, and the assumption very often is that the men will cheat more, and it's usually because of physical attraction or something else that they see out there. But that's not necessarily the truth. But why do people cheat? And does it point to some shortcoming on the person who is cheated on? Or does it speak to the relationship itself?
The relationship a lot of times.
So how do you get people to move away from feeling less than because you're the person who's cheated on? Whether it's male or female, that you have some insecurity that is then fed by that action that person did unilaterally by stepping out of the relationship.
Okay, sometimes, William, I'll tell you, we have like one partner in the relationship is very jealous and possessive. This person initially, I think we've talked about this before, initially it's like a compliment that somebody loves you this much that they want to be hanging on to your every word, they want you to be with them all the time. We've said this over and over. You need to, when you get into a relationship, you need to still have your friends, you need to still do things with your friends, and you don't ever want to get into a situation where you allow yourself to be monitored and show your passwords and show everything like that. I really don't believe that people build those kinds of prisons for themselves.
And you want to hear something that is even worse now, Jenny? With the iPhone, very often, find your friends.
Find your friend. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and people use the tracking.
People are making sure that their husbands have an iPhone, because of that feature.
I can tell where you are.
Yeah, I know where you are and what you're doing, pretty much, because I can tell if you're at a bar. I can tell, you understand me? But if relationships are supposed to be built on trust, and we know they are, if there are things going on, we need to talk about it. But that's something we do not do. We don't want to talk about things while there are still little tiny problems. If you can't speak with each other, go sit with a professional who allows you both to speak to each other. If you're, and a lot of times, it's this whole thing about communication. It may be the way I speak to you or the way you speak to me. I'm beginning to feel unhappy. It may be about finances. It goes back to our stuff we've talked about too, where before you jump in and go live with somebody or get married to somebody, you need to know these things about that person.
Now, I'm sitting here and I'm listening because one of my favorite shows currently on television is this Married at First Sight, which is a social experiment. They take two people, experts come together, they take two people based on traits that they think would match them well. And they put them, I think it's 6 weeks. You meet at the altar and you actually get married. You should watch it, it's on FYI. And then they go through the process. And of course you have a timeline, 6 weeks of getting to know each other, but you're married, so you're building that commitment, etc. I'm not a sponsor for the show or anything like that, but the relationship, because and the time and everything else that you go through, you realize that relationships all come down to the same thing. And you said something very important just now: communication, understanding why people do what they do, and trying to make sure that the communication is constant and that there's a space there, and they have the experts that come in and counsel them, etc. So the counseling is important, but it's very often
really
in our country we still have, you know, that negative perception of counseling and what it signals, whether it's a priest or somebody else. Just,
sit down with an objective person and discuss the things that are problems, if you can't do it with each other alone. But the thing is, you see, William, a lot of times we go off and people will meet, they'll meet tonight and they'll go have sex. And then 2 days later they're living together. What do you know about that person? Right? And then you see a lot of times and
that was the point that I was making with Married at First Sight, that people may see that as completely crazy, but it's based on some science. But I might meet you today, and as you rightly pointed out, you know, we hook up. Sometimes there's a pregnancy follows very shortly after, and then you're in a relationship and you feel, or I call them situationship, because you actually find yourself in a situation and you figure, well, we have to stay together for all these reasons.
Exactly. And then you see, now I begin to feel trapped, and so things outside are attractive to me. Okay. People don't take time to get to know the other person and what the other person brings to the table. Okay, and again, we cannot get trapped into this thing about because, oh, he loves me because he checks up on me, he walks me to school, he walks me to work, he drives me to, he picks me up from classes, he takes me to UB and he picks me up. Hello, ding, ding, ding. You need to be paying attention. If it's that much attention, is he putting a net around you? Or he wants you to not have friends coming to the house. He doesn't want you to go with friends. You have to really be listening for those things, and people don't, and they start feeling trapped, and now they don't know how to get out of it, right? Other things out there start becoming attractive.
And if people, realistically, if people want to find the time to cheat, they'll find it, no matter how much you monitor and do everything. Because a lot of people receive stuff on their cell phone and delete it immediately.
Right. The thing is, you can't watch another person. They would have another phone. They can have another phone that they keep at work. You cannot 24 hours for the day monitor somebody. Right. You might be looking for lipstick. He might tell her to just wear gloss. I mean, seriously, get a grip.
All right, well, let's move on to our next question, Jenny, because I think that one, we can go on for quite some time on that. And at the end of the day, if you make up your mind to stay in a relationship where there has been
You gotta let
infidelity,
it go.
you have to let
You
it go.
start over. You draw a line and say, okay, we're starting over here. Let's work on what the problems are that made you go out in the first place. But I'm telling you, if you start trying to put somebody into a prison, they're going to fight to get out. They are. It doesn't work.
All right. Our next question, Jenny. Jenny, I have a really hard time saying no. I feel guilty when I say no, but worse after I do say yes or okay. But worse after I say yes or okay. My co-workers really take advantage. Their excuse, they have spouse and family and I'm single. My boss says that I am her hardest worker, her right hand. Truth be told, I leave late and arrive early to keep up with the extra work, no extra pay. I end up with long hours, and it seems that the more I do, the less they do. I think I'm a people pleaser, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I want to do things differently, but without feeling bad when I do.
People pleaser. Gosh. Well, she's going to be in a lot of hurt if she keeps this up. Because let me tell you something. I don't know if you are aware, but if, as a boss, you don't want to punish your best worker, but that's what you end up doing. Because if you have people who are slacking off, you'll want to gravitate towards a person who's working hard. But that's not rewarding that person, not unless you're giving them extra money. But bosses tend to do that, and generally people will tend to do that. They'll go to the person who they are guaranteed will do the work. And it's not a reward, it's a punishment. And so we have to really be sensitive to that you have to make sure that people are carrying the weight they're being paid to do. You ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And everybody does what they're supposed to do. Nobody has to carry anybody else. You know the people who do their 100% and then 50% more? They're the ones who tend to be punished. I call it punishment.
But if you don't speak up for yourself, because I think that's what this person is talking about, having the inability to say no and not feel guilty, how do you work up the courage to actually stand up for yourself?
Well, William, let me just tell you this. You can't live life being a doormat. What do you do with doormats?
Step all over it and you wipe your feet.
You wipe your feet on it. And if you do not learn how to say no and take care of yourself, people are going to use you like a doormat. And it's not a good feeling. So practice in the mirror saying no. And start saying, sorry, no. If you can't say no right away, practice saying, let me get back to you. Or, can I think about this and get back to you? And if it's your boss, say, boss, I already have a full table here. I can't get to it right now, but how about, delegating to somebody else? And if I have the time, I'll come by and I'll come by and do some more. But if you know you're being used, everything is coming your way because you never say no, you've got to grow some courage and let your boss know and let other people know. She sounds as if everybody comes and dumps on her. Okay? She's the trash can. She really needs some assertiveness training. And again, counseling would really help somebody like this because she needs some assertiveness training. She needs to really get some self-esteem work. Okay? Sounds like a person who is really a good person, but everybody has learned can take advantage of her. And let me just share this with you, darling. On the plane, when that stewardess comes down the plane that's traveling, going abroad, she says, these are the lights. Learn where they are. They're the exits if you need to get off this plane. If this oxygen mask falls down out of the ceiling, it's because the oxygen level has dropped. If you're traveling with small children, who do you put that oxygen mask on first? Who?
Yourself.
You better, because if you put it on that child first, you're going to die from loss of oxygen, and who's going to help that baby? She has got to learn self-care. She's got to take care of herself first. If she doesn't take care of herself, there'll be nothing left of her. Her well runs dry, and nobody will be there when she needs help. So you've got to learn to take care of yourself first. Okay.
One other question I have, Jenny, because the guilt. Where does the guilt come from?
Oh, the church, our parents. We're taught very young that you're supposed to share, you're supposed to give, and they beat this into
Until
your
it
head.
hurts.
Yeah, it's beaten into your head from very young. You're supposed to share, you're supposed to give to this one, and give to that one, and give to the church, and give to elderly people, and give to everybody. Right? Aren't you taught that? And if you don't,
You're a bad person.
you're a horrible person. You're going straight to hell. Right? And so we internalize all this, and as we grow up, it becomes a part of our psyche, our belief system. And so a lot of us, we feel guilty if we tell anybody no. But you have to learn that there are lots of people out there who will shove things on you. And if you want to do it, and I mean genuinely want to do it, and you're not going to feel guilt after you said no, then that means that's something that you're doing from the heart and something you want to do. That's fine. But if you're saying yes just because of guilt, you really have to do some rearranging of your thought processes.
All right. Let's move into our final question for today, Jenny. And it reads, this one is a very serious one for young people. I recently walked in on my teenage daughter and saw a lot of cuts on her belly and legs. I was so shocked and scared. I screamed and yelled at her. I don't think I handled the situation well, but I was in a panic. I need some guidance. I don't want to make this any worse than it already is.
Yeah, that is serious. That's what we call self-harm. Now, parents need to know that children who are cutting are not they're not children considering suicide. If they're cutting away pain, some sort of emotional pain. Something's going on in the child's life that's really painful. Maybe parents are going through a divorce, they might be fighting in the house, alcoholism in the house. I don't know. We just have very limited information. But there's something going on that the emotional pain is really bad for this child, and so they're cutting themselves. Usually when I meet kids who are cutters, I'll ask them, who are you cutting away with that one? Who did you cut away with that one? And who's that one? Because generally it's some emotional thing brought on by something. And usually they'll say my parents quarrel a lot, they fight a lot in front of us, or I don't think my mom loves me, she loves my brother more than she does me, or whatever. Generally, it was to do with something very emotionally painful for
And
that
it's male
child.
and female.
More boys are doing it now, but generally it's a lot of women, the girls that do it. And we're seeing younger and younger girls now. We see them as young as 9 years old.
And this is not something they saw on TV and just decided to do.
Sometimes it's been because they're seeing it in a movie and they understand after they watch the movie that it's emotional pain, and so because when they're cutting they don't feel that that sort of jolts them back, but it eases the emotional pain. When they cut, it literally eases that pain. Apparently, we don't advocate any child doing cutting. We want the parents to bring them in to come and seek help. The psychiatric nurses, it's not necessarily a psychiatric problem. Sometimes it could be like children who are borderlines, but a lot of times if they're also abuse in the home, a child may be sexually abused who will cut. So it's best you bring them to a professional so that they can sit with the child and find out what's going on, why they're cutting. But if you see, and I know a lot of parents, and she sounds like she panicked because she thought her daughter might be wanting to commit suicide or something. Something made her panic. I'd prefer to see a child cutting than to see a child who has withdrawn and is not eating, not sleeping. Those are the things that would scare me about suicide, or they're saying the suicide language. That's more scary to me than the cutting. Not that I am advocating or I'm endorsing cutting. I really believe if you find cuts on your child, bring them to a professional. There's the counseling center, there's different places where you can bring children, bring them in.
And do not ignore it.
Do not ignore it. Do not, because it gets, I'd say they could make mistakes. This is why you want to bring them in. They can make mistakes.
They may cut a major
Yes.
artery or something and really harm
themselves. Unintentionally. But that would definitely be something you want to bring the child to a professional. Yeah. And also the parents said that she went overboard, and you really want to control yourself as much as possible, be as calm as possible, and ask the child how long it's been going on. Get them to a professional.
And don't be afraid to talk to them about it.
No, please talk to them about it without the screaming, the hysterics, and all that stuff. But talk to them about it, definitely.
All right. Well, Jenny, we want to thank you very much for sharing, and we'll see how your audience
Reacts.
votes at the end of the show. Of course, we encourage you to send us feedback. You can write us, and we send the questions directly to Jenny, or you can also write Jenny directly. Sometimes people meet us in the streets, etc. And
they take it all the way down to the resource center. So
you can hand deliver if you want a question to Jenny. But we encourage you to write in. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much, Jenny, for sharing your perspectives. And we're now going to go ahead and take a break. And when we return, it will be to talk about hair and styling. We have a visiting hair artist that will definitely will give you some tips. Not that I need any, but we'll be right back after these messages.
these are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.